Hello and welcome to the WadFam Chalk Pod. Wow. I forgot what part I say next. I'm Dylan Weaver.
I'm Andrew Sabo.
And today we're talking about episode 487, Plan B, Part 4, Resistance.
That was a cheery intro to a sad episode.
A very sad episode right from the top.
Yeah.
But
oh my gosh.
But before we get to the top, we have a promo.
We do, because why?
You know, we'll do the first two episodes in one promo and then the second two episodes in separate promos. It's fine. We're focused on the family.
Focus on the promo.
What is going on in Odyssey?
How dare you show your face here?
Help me, Witch! You have to help me now!
Well, this is so crazy. Everything's out of control.
And who will have control after Novacom carries out its next plan?
I'm sorry. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Find out more on the next Adventures in Odyssey.
Spy. Done through alleys. Spy. That's a little bit more dramatic. That fits the tone a little bit more. Couldn't we have started this a while ago? Now that you've shown that you're capable, I don't understand what happened.
We'll see how the next album pulls it off.
Yeah. Well, it's worth noting this is the last track on the album. This is the last track on Counter Moves.
Yeah.
Which is odd. Oh, ow. It just hurts.
It does not wrap things up. Spoiler alert for the end of the episode.
It doesn't at all. And, like, Chris tries, and it's, like, whatever. But it's also, like, they had to wait a full year. Or at least, 6 months?
Yeah, they were doing 2 a year at this point.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll probably talk about in the next episode what the timestamps are for how long of a jump this is.
Okay.
But yeah, that would not have been fun.
No, not at all. Especially with the nature of this, like, this album being so heavy and then also being incredibly plot back heavy.
Yeah.
Candid Conversations with Connie.
Yeah, we open up on a
sobbing Connie.
Holy crap!
It's
the
so
most
sad.
somber, sad, about to
Yeah.
just drop over Connie, who's oh man, I feel.
Welcome back to Candid Conversations with Connie. Like,
no guest this episode.
Sniffle.
We're just gonna talk about Mitch.
Yep.
Here's a poem I wrote about him.
Yep. About him being a dish rag and making other things look nice, but nobody appreciates him. Which, like, oh my gosh, right in the feels. And, like, as one who writes cheesy poems when he's sad, I feel you, Connie. I'm sorry. Maybe if we reach our Patreon goal, I'll release some of my cheesy sad poems.
No joke. I was gonna jump in and say, if you want to hear those if you want to see those poems, subscribe to us on Patreon. I was already queuing up that joke, and then you made it.
Oh, I'm so proud of us. We've done a good thing.
We've been doing
Adventures in Odyssey. Focus on the family. Give us some membership to the Adventures in Odyssey Club so we can keep promoting your show. And you can read my crappy poems.
Oh, we are way too good at this.
Yeah.
We've been doing this way too long.
Yeah. We're established. We're swinging with the big boys now.
Yeah. Okay. Then.
Such good voice acting. It's worth noting before we move on, I would say. It's incredibly good voice acting by Connie. You can, like, at least for me, it's very easy to imagine. They have a pretty minimalist setup for candid conversations. I'm imagining, like, round table, like, boom mics hanging down situation.
Yep.
But, like,
I also
she probably
imagine the
has,
boom mic.
yeah, like, she's got tissues probably, and her eyes are probably, really sunken, and she's kind of hunched over the table, like, over the mic. Not unlike I am right now.
Yes. We're very hunched.
I'm much hunched. It's very sad. And so, it paints such a powerful picture.
It really does. It's crazy. You kind of get it because of the last episode and Connie like working through her grief and still working at wit's end and all that stuff. But it is still crazy that like she's going on doing her show,
doing things
like this when she's this visibly broken up.
Yeah,
like that can't be fun to listen to.
Yeah, and it's also like she's probably doing it more for herself than she is for anybody else. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like this podcast.
Exactly. Friends in real life. I think she just like she probably just wants to do something and wants to maintain some sense of normalcy in all of it, you know, and that does make a lot of sense. But also in the same way, it's like that's got to be so hard, like flipping through the radio, especially if you're in wit's end when it's actively playing. Which, that's our next transition is the transition to was it Jack, Joanne, and Wit in wit's end. Yeah, they hear it through the like almost intercom situation.
Yeah, Joanne's there, and then Jack and Wit are walking back
from the post office.
From the post office and being held up.
Yeah.
And so they're.
Well, this was another fantastic transition in my mind.
Yeah.
And they do it again in this episode where they cut from they use existing audio in a different format as a transition to show like changes in the setting, and that's really cool.
They did it, and they did it in maybe was it our first episode? They did it on a really early episode too.
Yeah.
Where they cut like from Connie having her candid conversation to them listening to the candid conversation, because it's the episode with Bethany. That is literally the first episode we covered.
There it is.
Yeah,
coming back around.
Sorry about that one, guys.
Yeah, well, please don't binge the show, or do. I'm not going to tell you not to, but if you have, then you're more familiar with it than we are.
Yeah. But then what? Then so the whole thing with Jack and Wit are coming in. Joanne's talking to them, but they're being like weird and cryptic, talking about extermination and this, that, and the other thing.
So they're being super cryptic because they walk in with a package, but was it at the end of last episode or the beginning of this one where Wit's like, how did they know that we were going to the post office?
Yeah, that's the end of last episode.
Okay, so that's the end
like what it goes out on.
Yeah, so they're suspicious that there's some sort of bug or something like that. And so they're being super cryptic about having the package, and Joanne's like, "What?" And like,
well, they don't have the package. The package was stolen from them.
Yeah.
So we cut then from Jack and Joanne and Wit kind of trying to have a conversation without, giving anything away, to Charles and Monica listening in on via a bug to them, and Charles just kind of being like, so like they were held up at a post office and that still hasn't come up in the conversation. Monica being like, yeah, that's really weird. And he's like, they're weird people. Yeah. Like, he doesn't seem overly concerned by it.
They're weird people and I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a good line.
And then Monica reveals that she's going to go hunt down Eugene because her cover has been fully blown.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Of course. Because she blew it herself.
Well, no. I mean, because of Borland.
Yeah.
Is the reason it's blown. But then, yes, she also did blow it again. So from their office, we then hear Wit more clearly say, this is Wit in the office signing off. And he's like,
I hope you enjoyed our broadcast. Yep. Go check out the one in the library or something like that. Right. And then it's Joanne in the library being like, "Hi, signing off. Go check the one in the soda parlor."
Yeah, I think
soda fountain.
Yep. And Jack's there, and they shut off these 4 bugs.
Yeah.
And the whole time Charles was like, I didn't realize Wit had that much of a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And it is
very nice, making him Southern.
It's very funny.
It is.
I like it.
Well, and you wouldn't expect it either because they know it's happening. It's just like, oh, and you could totally imagine it like them just kind of tapping on the microphone and Charles being like, wait, what?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and actually before they even do all the bugs, we find out that they opened the box that they stole at the post office at gunpoint, and find out that it's full of stamps.
Yeah. How would? Yeah.
No. We get it.
Yeah.
But is it is it Wooten's stamp collection or is it just random stamps? Because for whatever reason, I've always pictured it as Wooten's stamp collection.
I thought it was just random stamps.
Yeah.
I really hope.
It probably.
Did he keep his random stamp collection at the post office?
I don't know.
hope
He kind of mentions like, oh, you want to see him when he's there, when they're there.
Stamps.
No, I don't think it's Wooten's stamp collection, but I do
certainly
think
hope not.
I do think Wit bought a roll of stamps to put in the box that they'd think there was something in the box.
Yeah,
but
I
also
guess.
like it being like we haven't hit on it, but it's a CD in a box.
And it might.
Maybe it's like one of those like
like
USPS like flat rate like the
packages,
the thin ones.
Yeah.
But even then, like just ship it in a bag. But whatever.
Yeah.
And then that was
It couldn't have been in a bag though, because it's really hard to like open and then reseal the bag.
right. No. I know it wasn't in a bag.
Yeah.
Because
It would have made more sense for it to have been in a bag.
Yeah, but also it doesn't matter. Like I don't think they opened and resealed the box. I think they just made up another box.
If I order a single CD from Amazon,
Right.
it's coming in a bag.
Yes. As someone who orders single CDs a lot, they come in bags. But also, it's not like Charles and Monica know what the box needs to look like.
Yeah.
So I doubt they even bothered to switch the
think about
boxes.
it. Yeah.
So then all the bugs get shut off, and we cut to Wit's End, where Wit brings up the fact that they, in addition to finding those 4 bugs, also found a second one in 2 of the places that he thinks were placed by a different person because they're a different style bug.
Yeah.
Which they don't really get into what bugs are and whatever. Like, obviously, you get the idea. But I don't know how Wit found all of them.
Yeah, they're incredibly tiny. It made me think like he had some sort of like
like
detector.
he had like a metal detector for bugs or something like that.
Or like he could maybe has like some sort of software that can see what's being transmitted from his building. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, I don't know. It just seems
you can detect
weird
which ones
that
are
he
transmitting.
that
then you
he
think like
he found all.
he's a
of them
god.
or whatever.
He's god.
Yeah, he is.
Plot
And
device.
it's pretty great. He also says he removed the taps from his phone, so his
Yeah.
phone was being tapped.
Yeah.
And advises Jack and Joanne that their place might be tapped as well.
Yeah.
Um,
And then doesn't Wooten come in?
Wooten comes in. He initially apologizes or just kind of offers his condolences to Connie
About Mitch.
About Mitch, and
He's like, he's a good guy, even though he orders stuff through UPS.
yeah, he usually I liked him even though he sent things UPS.
Yeah, it's so
which is good. Dude, I don't think we ever saw the two of them interact.
No.
But it's nice to have kind of flesh out the universe and be like, small town, everyone knows each other, and obviously
Well, it
they
makes sense
interact.
because Mitch obviously was around Wits End a good bit, and
Yep.
Wooten worked at Wits End for a little bit. So.
Yep, and yeah, I like.
And then there's a letter from Wit's daughter in the mail for him.
Oh yes, there is a letter from Wit's daughter.
Not important,
Yeah.
but I thought it was
But yeah,
interesting.
well, because the last time Wooten delivered mail that we saw, he got the letter from his granddaughter. I was
yeah.
like, I like this is just something
That's
that,
right.
like the writers are like, well, he's got to receive more than just one thing, and it can't just be like junk mail because it's
Yeah.
Odyssey. So
He gets letters from,
He gets the letters
his,
from
his kids.
yeah,
And grandkids.
and grandkids.
Ariel Winter.
That's his daughter.
Yes.
So
But
this
only once.
yes, for a very short period.
Yes.
And then Wooten's also like, oh yeah, like I'm really he drops off their package with the disc and is like, yeah, I'm always discreet with packages, like that time Eugene mailed something 2 nights ago. And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't... yeah.
Whatever. I wish he had. It's kind of like the classic Wooten like bumbling into things, but I wish he had just been like, Eugene mailed a package 2 nights ago. Like, I wish it hadn't been, I don't know, I wish it was something that Wooten just said because he thought it would be important for these people to know.
Yeah.
And not,
Just kind of stumble across
Yeah.
it and, like,
yeah.
accidentally exclose some pretty valuable information.
Yeah. So, yeah, Eugene mailed something in Odyssey 2 nights ago, which that was when he was back in town
Yes.
and, like, robbed
Yeah.
the Campbell County Community College, and
Novacom Kids Center.
and so that was all that he shipped that off, which that was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Which means that the last 3 episodes all happened in one day, and then this one's the day after.
Boy, if we only had some timestamps.
Yeah.
Help us.
Well, so here's the thing: is I was pretty sure
there was at least one overnight situation.
Well, there was at least one overnight situation, which means this is later in the day of. Well, we know this is later in the day of yesterday's episode.
Yes.
Or of the episode we covered last week.
Yes.
Because that episode is the one that straddles a day.
Yes.
So.
I guess maybe loosen. Yeah. It's strong enough to.
Yeah,
it holds up.
It's fine. It does hold up. So Wit throws the disc in the computer, and it's encrypted. But he could
figure it out, but it would take days.
Yeah, and then
because Wit can
decrypt things in days.
Yes.
And then he does find one file that's not encrypted.
Mm-hmm. And
who knows why?
Yeah, arguably the most important file, depending on what's on the disc.
Yeah.
And it's the minutes from the Andromeda meeting.
Yep.
And they look and they see Arthur Dent and Mr. Shanks.
Yep.
And Charles, and that's it. That's all they list as.
Yeah. Actually, I don't even know if they list Dent. I think they might just say Charles. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's.
I remember it's definitely Charles and Shanks.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Okay, and then. Oh, and then this is so Connie's up there looking at this too.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we gets a Eugene email.
Yep.
That says like,
"I'm
don't
safe.
look for me. I'm safe."
And you might accidentally lead somebody.
Yeah.
Which is a good call.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really feel like anybody's looking for Gene right now, but I think it's good to clarify that.
Yeah.
And also,
well, we actually know
very
for
good
a
at
fact that Monica's going to go track him down.
Yeah.
That's her next thing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Wit and Connie aren't looking for Eugene.
Right. And Connie's like, are we actually going to do that? And Wit's like, yeah, we have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Connie.
Yes, Connie.
Hush, hush. Go cry somewhere.
Uh-huh.
Which she does. Yeah, this is when Connie is in the park.
Yep.
And Wooten is walking through the park. He says he takes a long cut through the park.
Yeah.
Which, okay. And they're talking about Mitch because Connie's super broken up about it.
Yeah.
And then Wooten's like talking to her about his feelings, and there's a lot of actually like very real conversation that happens.
Yeah, it's really, really sweet.
And it's obviously like I don't think it's worth it to cover everything that's said, but I think it's nice that this show is not brushing the emotional impact of what has happened to everybody under the bus. Like they're validating Connie's emotions.
Yep.
She's no longer like the crazy, emotional, irrational person. Like, she has lost something. Her feelings are valid. She's worth something, and she's worth being cared about. Which is like, thank you. Focus on the family.
No, that was such a good thing for them to do. And then
they go to the park, right? Or they go to
Oh,
we do laser tag.
I have a note here just to point out that it comes up that Wooten's from Alaska.
Oh,
he grew up in Alaska.
We know that already, don't we?
Do we from the first episode with him? I don't know. We definitely, it's something that it comes up a lot with him.
Yeah.
But this was the first time, at least in this series that we're doing, that it has come up. It might in episodes that are outside of what we're covering during this time.
Yeah.
But at least in Novacom episodes is the first time it comes up.
I just remember them going to the Bernard and Wooten going to Alaska in the 2-part.
Yeah. It's a fun one.
Yeah, that actually really
She's got a mole that moves in her sleep. Anyways, and then Wooten's like, you know what you need? Funnel cake.
What a friend.
Yeah, dude's the best.
He's so good.
And then Tom bumbles into Wit's End, knocks on Wit's door. Wit says, come in, Tom. Whatever. Unlocks the door, says, come in, Tom. And Tom's like, how'd you know it was me? He's like, I have security cameras. And this is where Tom says the line that was in last week's promo.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Security cameras? Locking your door? And it's like,
What, Rathbone?
No, Tom. Security cameras, locking your door. Those are normal things.
What's next? Guard dogs?
Like, it's fine, Tom.
It's okay.
It's fine.
Well, but it's also important because really Tom doesn't live in town.
Yep.
He lives on the Timothy Center, or in the Timothy Center, around the Timothy Center,
Yes.
in vicinity of
His farm. He lives
Yeah.
on his farm, and the Timothy Center's
with
also
his
there.
horse and
Yep.
his apples, and so it's like he's been outside of this, so he doesn't
Right.
actually know what's going
Right,
on.
and yes, similar to the
Wooten
thing that we
situation.
brought up with Wooten, we also get Tom here being out of the loop and kind of brought into it, and
Yeah.
that's cool too.
It's helpful, I would say.
to once again get some outside opinions, and Tom's just
Well, and also bringing in a beloved character back into this like plot where it's
Yep.
like, he was involved in it a little bit beforehand, but now he's really getting reeled in, and like,
yeah.
it's a good introduction to a character that I'm pretty sure is going to be consistently important for the rest of the show.
Yep. And then we cut back to Connie and Wooten getting funnel cakes, and Connie's fairly resistant and not like super into it, but Wooten's like, no, you can't eat a naked funnel cake.
Yeah.
You gotta put
Powdered sugar
and whipped cream and sprinkles.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what you need? Laser tag. And then we jump back, Borland busting into Wit's End again.
Yeah.
And he brings up the tower. He knows who Tom is, and Tom's like, you sound like, what you're talking about, you sound like you got a file on me. He's like, well, we do, like, the tower's on your land.
Yeah.
Which is just a good way of reminding the audience of that plot point, because it's
very relevant.
It is relevant, and it's so far outside of what we've been dealing with.
I mean, it was like 3 albums ago.
Right. Yeah. It was like tacked on to the end of an album, and it's not like that big a deal.
But it is important to know that it is Novacom.
Right.
And like
Novacom.
now that we know what Novacom is doing, like,
We don't really know what Novacom's doing, but...
well, we know that there's radio wave to brainwave study.
And there's a broadcast tower, so, you do the math.
Yeah, you put them together if you want.
But yeah, then...
The sound engineering at laser tag is really, really good.
Dude, we're not even at laser tag yet, though.
Oh, shoot.
Because we also just hit on the fact that the FBI placed those bugs.
Yes.
And has been following Wit. And Wit's like, why weren't you more helpful when, Monica Stone pulled a gun on us? And they were like, oh, yeah.
Whoops.
Drop the ball on that one. And Tom's just like, you are going to need to fill me in, Wit. This is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And then Wit decides, after Borland leaves, he's like, I got to go to Chicago.
Yeah.
Because there's an address on the thing that the person has. There's an address from the disc.
Yes.
And Wit's like, I got to go there.
Yeah.
I got to go to this place. And he says, Tom's going to watch Wit's End.
Yeah.
We just, last episode, discussed the episode 2 episodes ago, I guess, we discussed the distance between Chicago and Odyssey.
Yeah, 2 episodes ago.
Because it was when Wit's talking about, or Connie's like, just talk to Jack and Joanne. They're already in Chicago.
Yeah, they were gonna drive out there,
right? And then they also take a flight.
Yeah,
back. Now Wit's just like on a whim, dropping the hat, like I gotta get to Chicago.
I gotta go. Just hop on the interstate and drive for like 8 hours.
Right? Like I don't know how long.
What does he drive? What kind of car does Wit drive?
Something old,
probably, but like very well kept.
Yes,
and
well maintained, but not flashy.
No. I'm thinking
probably has like an Oldsmobile.
Yeah,
I do a picture brown as well.
Maybe like an old Buick. Maybe
something old and boxy.
Yeah, really. Boxy.
Maybe like a red Lincoln.
Perhaps a 1991. I'd be pretty old by then. 110 years old. Probably doesn't get great gas mileage, but Wit likes it. It opens up well. It has problems. I have a 91 Mark Lincoln.
Yes.
And it doesn't work. It's very boxy. Wit, if you want it, you could have it.
Paul McCusker, if you come on the show,
Paul McCusker,
Andrew will
please
give
take
you
my
this.
car with you. I have no need for it anymore.
All right, and yeah. So I don't know. Is Wit just hopping on a plane? Is he?
I guess as he's driving.
There's always a plane leaving, though, as we determined
guess, yeah.
previously. I don't know.
It's not worth addressing.
It really isn't. Now. Oh, and so Tom's leaving, or Tom's covering Wit's End.
Of course.
Until Nick gets in.
Yes.
Now we jump to laser tag.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
It's so good.
It is so the you said it, but the audio engineering is
It's really good.
Good.
You hear the background noise, you hear the laser noise. The laser noises are on point. Like you can totally imagine them like wearing the really like bulky kind of like laser
Yep.
sensor situations.
yeah.
And Wooten's like hanging out and talking, and then
Yeah.
Connie's like, you know,
Wooten's
actually
focused. Well, Wooten's focused on the game. Connie's just kind of like venting about like Mitch
Yeah.
stuff out loud to him in a really fun way. Wooten gets taken out.
Yeah.
Then that guy sneaks up on Connie. She yells, "Eat lasers, pig!"
Yeah.
And just nails him,
Like lasers, pig!
which I
It's
love.
so good. It's so good. And you even hear the like she got him.
And then because
Kill
comedy comes in threes,
Yes.
Wooten says, "You know what you need? You need to spin so fast when the floor drops out, you stick to the wall by centripetal force."
Yep, exactly. And cut to the tilt-a-whirl, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, cut to the aftermath of like
Yeah,
the tilt-a-whirl.
Yeah,
Um,
which again is really cool because you like the sound engineering is really good, and like you can totally imagine them. They're in a carnival, they get off of it, like they're stepping out.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was at this point that I was like, wait, Wooten said he was taking a long cut through the park.
Yeah.
So he was still on his route.
Yeah, he was still working.
And then, so I paused to write down this note about like, Wooten's on this long cut through his route. Like, how did everyone, like, so did everyone else just not get their mail? And then I press play, and Wooten goes, "Yeah, I'm really sorry for those people who from my route who are getting their mail at 10 p.m. And I was like, dang it, Wooten. I should have just waited like 10 seconds and you would have answered my question.
You got me.
Oh,
Odyssey, you tied up this loose end. Now tell me how old Wit is.
he's such a good friend to Connie, though.
Yeah, he's exactly, and he does what like what you need in that situation is a distraction while also not avoiding it.
Right.
Where it's like, we can do something else, but while your mind is still in this place, like, I'm here, I'm going to talk with you, and we're going to have, like, meaningful conversations, and, like, I'm going to show you a good time, but not neglect what happened to you.
Yeah, it's so nice. And also, too, for someone who, like, Connie and Wooten aren't super
Normally
close.
together,
Wooten's only been around for a little while.
Yeah. Like a couple months probably at this point.
Yeah.
And she may have known him through working at Wits End a little bit, but whatever.
Right, but
it's also...
But yeah, it just shows how nice he is, and it gives her someone other than... Like, someone who's closer to a peer to talk to about all this stuff.
It's not Wit, and it's not Eugene.
Joanne. Eugene's going, oh, that's another thing going back when they're in the park. Connie is talking to Wooten about Mitch stuff, but then also brings up just how much she misses Eugene. Yeah. And that was a really, really
endearing,
sweet moment.
Like, I think the last thing, would they like talk about socks or something like that?
Yeah.
Because she's talking about the last conversations we had with these
her
people.
last conversation with him was how invested in Mrs. matched the socks. And her last talk with Mitch, she was so mad at him, and now he's dead. And it's all...
But then you also have, like, Wooten then later coming in, swooping in and being like, well, did you do stuff like this with Mitch? Like, then he knew. Then he knew you cared about him.
Yeah, because she brings up the great thing of, like, I've never had, except for, like, maybe with a parent, one of those moments, like in the movies, where someone says, I love you, and then I say it back.
Yeah.
And that's just, like, such this awesome, sincere thing for her to
And it's realistic, and it's well written, and it's like, and You know, and we really don't think about Connie as a romantic person really much in this show. She's kind of the brunt end of a lot of, like, kids hitting on her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, like, I think she thinks Jason Whittaker is cute at some point.
Yeah, she is definitely into Jason for a period.
But
I mean, who wouldn't be?
he's a stud.
Man.
He's a man's man.
Yep.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
He shows up in Novacom later, just so you know.
Yeah.
Listeners, friends in real life.
Yeah, so Wooten's just the
Such
best.
a good friend.
Then
And it's a nice break, too.
yeah.
It's like kind of what the last episode did, where it's like things are actually slowing down in some parts of things, and like we are allowing processing and like kind of getting out of the drama.
Yeah. And so we go then to Chicago. Wait's knocking on the door for the address.
Yep.
A neighbor comes out and is like,
I have a key.
"Are you looking for Dent?"
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. I'm looking for Dent."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, he's in there, but like he hasn't come out in a while." He's like, "I've got a key for when he goes out of town. Let's just go in."
Yeah.
And he's sitting like in a chair, like vegged out. Like they're like, "Is he dead?"
I imagined him on the floor.
Oh, is he on the floor?
My thought is that they just dumped his body. Like they screwed him up, and just dumped his body.
Yeah, maybe. So he is out of it.
Yeah.
They think he might be dead. They call an ambulance. And in a weird turn of events, we actually cut from there to the hospital.
Yeah.
And
The continuation of
Yeah.
the situation with Whit.
yep.
And so it's Whit talking to the doctor, right? And
Yep.
then the doctor's like, yeah, he's like, oh, he's like, he's in stable condition, and was like, oh, well, can I go in and talk to him?
Yeah.
And he says, well, he's suffering from a deep onset paranoia.
Yeah. And he also is saying, because the whole lead up to that is, do you know any of his family? Can we have contact for that?
Yeah.
No. Can he make decisions? It's like, why can't he just make decisions himself? He's like the deep onset of paranoia.
Yeah.
But also through this whole thing, I'm like, that's not like, even though Whit's the one who brought him in, this doctor should not be this open with him, right? Like,
Maybe.
I don't know. It seems
Because if there is no family,
Yeah.
then he does become their primary caretaker. So like,
okay. Yeah.
that would make sense.
It seemed, I don't know, it seemed weird that he's like going into all, like, because he comes out and he's like, where's the family? Like, we need to talk to the family. Mm-hmm. And then Whit's unable to provide that, but the guy then just goes ahead and kind of
Tells Whit.
fills Whit in on everything. And I'm like, okay, that seems weird. But
Odd. Okay. I have to tell
just seems-
somebody.
right, like he seems very
friendly
chatty.
man here.
But then
me
Whit
tell
goes
you.
into the room with Dent.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Dent is
Messed up.
terrifying.
Please! You've got to get me out of here!
Yeah, but like they do he had a stroke,
Yeah.
is what the doctors kind of determined, which Armitage Shanks.
Banks also had a stroke.
Coincidence? I think not. But yeah, they did a really good job of making him like sound. He's like
Really?
paranoid and frazzled, but he also sounds like he's like has brain issues.
Yeah.
Like there's just like a weird like
There's, like, excess
slowness and
saliva in his
choppiness
mouth, yeah.
to like his voice.
Yeah.
That's like really well done. So like just shout out to the voice actor on that. That was
Really well done.
solid.
Excellent. Yeah, and then he's like, so you got to get me out of here. Like, they're going to kill me. He's like, who's going to kill you? And he's like, the same people that killed Armitage Shanks.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Yep. Now we jump back to Odyssey.
Because, of course.
Now I'm trying to think. Do we know? We knew when the memorial service was happening, right? The memorial service was scheduled to happen
Been
like
on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a following day.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was iffy on. I was like, is this all supposed to take place in one day? Because that's crazy. But no. So it gets back to Odyssey from Chicago, and Borland kind of corners him.
Yeah.
And Wit's like, you're going to have to open up to me if I'm going to open up to you. Not how the FBI works.
Yeah,
but
he was like, Wit, we need to talk, and we're going to share information. I was like, I need you to share some information. And Wit's like, yeah. Well, I'll give you what I know if you give me what you know. This is about trust, isn't it? And Borland's like, well, you got me there.
It's about... Wait, the FBI is about trust? Wait, what?
Since when?
Um,
They hack into my phone because of trust?
that's the NSA, buddy.
Oh, dang it.
They... It's fine.
They're all the same, basically, and none of them are employed right now.
That might be false by the time this comes out. We record in advance.
Yes. But it also might not be, and that's the sad part.
Be quiet, Andrew. So
Continue. Please, dear God.
So Borland kind of lays out stuff that's going on with Andromeda, and then he's like, they've been slowed down though, primarily because of Eugene, because he ran off with the research, and you. It was like, what? Me? How could I have any? It's just like this weird humility that's like, obviously you're at the center of this, Wit. Yeah. One, because this adventure's an Odyssey, but two, because you've gotten an exploding modem, freaking like 2 cameras, bunch of bugs, phones tapped.
As a kid, you would never have put that together because it just seems like. So they're bugging. They've been bugging his office to figure out something. But Wit has also been really more just an accessory to all the main plot points.
Yeah. I don't know. It still seems weird for him to be confused when Borland's like, you're at this, like, you've really been slowing
Or to even be in denial, like, instead of going, oh, that would make sense. You know?
Right.
Like, I suppose, yes, me, one who has done universally important research.
Yeah.
And, has, life-changing technology at my fingertips. Like, okay. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So Wit and Connie are planning on heading to the memorial service,
Wit gets
and
back
then
right
Borland
in time.
gets interrupted.
Yeah.
And then Connie heads out, and then Wit ends up meeting her there. But memorial service, Connie's just like, there's all these people here, like,
he had a lot of friends. He had more friends than I did.
Right. He was only here for a couple months, and he made more friends than I have. There's people from the Sunday school he taught, which I don't think we knew about, but like, that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
And
we did like something about a Bible study, I think. Right?
Yeah. She was going to co-lead his Bible study because that was when she thought he was asking her out, and he wasn't. And green eyes, yellow tulips. Anyways, but yeah, and then Connie spots a bald-headed man.
Yes.
And goes out and yells at Charles.
Who's there?
Calls him a murderer, saying that he killed Mitch, which, like, yes, obviously. Yeah. But also, that is, like, I get you're emotional, but, like, that's a crazy accusation to just be, like, tossing around. Yeah, in a crazy public place. Like, she's yelling. There are people there mourning Mitch who are, like, turning. Murderer. And she's like, this guy murdered Mitch? What?
Like, sorry, what? And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, he plays it off all very super villainy.
Yeah.
That's...
And Novacom will try his best to find who killed him.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, Mr. Charles, I think you should leave. And he's like, gladly.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just here to honor my colleague and friend. And then I'm like, but if I have to leave, I'll gladly leave.
Yeah.
And then we have Tom and Connie and Wit and Jack and Joanne all kind of standing around, and Joanne's like, hey, why don't you guys come over for lunch? And Tom's like, oh, I can't. I'm going to go back to the Timothy Center. By the way, Connie, like, you can take some time off from the Timothy Center. Don't feel like you have to come up there. And then so we kind of fade out on Jack and Joanne are planning on going over. Connie and Wit have just like a nice conversation.
They stay afterwards and they talk about and this is nice, and I think it's worth noting just because it's the end of the album.
Right.
They're processing things, and Connie's like, I never really got to tell him like how much he meant to me.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And then Wit's like, well, this is when we just gotta hope that God fills in the gaps.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, he shouldn't have to. And then says, I love you, Wit. And
Yeah.
like, I love you too, Connie. And it's this really, really
Yeah.
sweet, genuine moment. And like again, at least for me, very clear picture of just like kind of sitting in sitting in pews at a funeral home. Like casket probably isn't there anymore. Just kind of like.
Well, yeah, this is a memorial service.
it's
I
a
don't even
memorial,
think
yeah.
because his body was being sent back to Maine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's just like, oh my gosh. And then it just fades out, right?
Yeah. And then we get our first Chris wrap up of the series.
4-part. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she does a decent job and it's.
Yeah, she does. She's not really stretching. It's a lot of just like plot stuff.
And then but then she also kind of does the whole like, well, we're seeing a lot of good and evil, and they're fighting the evil, and you fight evil, and God will pat you on the back. And then,
and it's hard to tell the difference between good and evil sometimes, and yeah.
Which is like all fairly relevant. It does. I don't necessarily like that there's an outro.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is also, the whole good and evil thing's a weird oversimplification for like, yeah, of course there's good and evil in your TV show. Is there black and white good and evil in real life?
To focus on the family there
Sometimes. Like, I don't know. You gotta kill the Nazis.
I guess.
But like, yeah.
Insert joke about focus on the family being incredibly conservative and...
Yeah, as we do.
As we do.
But yeah.
But that's how it ends.
That's how it ends. This is a crazy coming off of last episode, which was 18 minutes. This is 26 minutes of an episode. And I pulled it up because, AIO Wiki, you're the best.
Yeah.
There were 3 scenes that were altered and like added.
Okay.
To that were like cut down for the broadcast version and put back on for the album.
Oh, okay.
So the whole Connie's poem about Mitch was added in afterwards.
Okay.
I think we cut away from, in the broadcast version, I think they cut away from her show a lot sooner. Also, the funnel cake bit, not in the broadcast version.
Okay.
Or at least like her putting the toppings on the funnel. I think Wooten probably still says like, you need funnel cake. But then, next we hear him, he says laser tag. And then just Wooten's conversations with Connie and with Wit have been extended in this, which I feel like it really benefits from.
Yeah, I think so.
It gives it's a good opportunity of Wooten not just being like a jokey character, because he doesn't get much weight, especially at this point.
He's
in the
mostly just
series.
comic
Even like
relief.
Popsicle Kid, which is maybe the most Wooten episode we've covered. Is like him just being kind of jokey the whole thing, and
and kids like, appreciating him,
right?
For him,
And he slaps down some morals for kids, but it's not like a big deal.
Yeah, and
where
he doesn't
this
seem like in a very emotionally available. It's just kind of like, hey, I do me, and I got made fun of, so whatever,
Yeah.
And whereas this, he's like very understanding, very caring, very supportive and loving, and I think it definitely benefits from that.
Yeah. So that wraps up a 4-parter
and
an album,
which is unreal.
Yeah.
It's very, and like the one thing that Chris says at the end is like, well, it's very clear like there's more Novacom stuff to come, which obviously it's worth noting.
Right.
Next album, Battle Lines, is entirely Novacom front to back. And Counter Moves wasn't. Right?
No.
There was
just the back half was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are 3 albums in, 16 episodes in, and we've got 12 to go and 1 album. So we're on a track to, and then there's a lot of like post Novacom aftermath kind of stuff that we'll probably cover on our show because
why not?
Yeah, exactly. But
this is, I mean, this is it for the album.
Big episode. It does kind of wraps some stuff up emotionally, but it also is.
It doesn't
so
wrap
much
anything.
set up for the next episode, which I get you kind of have to at this point. But
Well, and it's funny because it feels like this is continually building for a climax, and that plot points come to a climax, but they really haven't, really.
No.
Where it's like, okay, so you find out where Eugene is. He's with Katrina. Eugene got married. Eugene ran away. There's no climax there.
Right.
And, you know,
yeah. Like, there's no resolution.
Yeah.
Like, none of these things were, it's just a lot of ongoing stuff. And, like, probably the biggest resolution of, like, a plot line is Mitch dying.
And
like,
being gone. Like, that's probably, and finding out Mitch is Arum.
Right.
That's probably it.
Right. And then maybe, like, finding out, like, some Charles Monica stuff and that Monica's leaving.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the only closure we really get in this episode. But yeah.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's exactly why I love Novacom.
Yeah.
And
It's
looking forward to getting
intrigue and the emotion.
Yeah. Really, so much so. And, like, oh my gosh, if you haven't listened to this and for some reason you're listening to this podcast, do yourself a favor. Yeah. Listen to it. Yeah. You'll enjoy it a lot. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So that wraps up our episode.
Mm-hmm. I don't have anything to promote today.
Neither do I. Man, we are slacking in the promotion thing.
Yeah, I need to get on it. I've been lazy. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, we've got this show. If you need more from us, like, you're just gonna have to suck it up for now. So yeah, we will be back next week.
Yeah.
With the first episode of Battle Lines.
Frick yeah, let's go.
Cannot wait. Have a good one.
Bye.
WadFam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Cooperative. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at WadFamChalkPod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Episode 16, Plan B Part 4, Resistance, was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Sabo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us next time for more of the WadFam Chalk Pod.